We are back at shul.com. We are reading from Kitzur, Yalkut, Yosef, Siman Tav Resh Ayin Aleph, which is Seder Halakat Ner Hanukka Umakom Hanachato. So, lighting the candles of Hanukka, and where do you place them? Aleph. Tzarich lizaher meod behadlakat nerot Hanukka. You have to be very careful lighting the candles of Hanukka. Ki hi mitzvah habiba ad meod. It's a very special mitzvah. Sheish ba mishum pirsum hanes behoda'ah lahashim yitbarach al hanisim sha'asa lanu. Because we're actually publicly thanking God for doing all these miracles for us. V'ha'oseh ken zocheh lebanim tamidei chachamim. Like it's brought down in Shabbat Kaf Gimel Amud Bet, that if you do that, you're going to have banim tamidei chachamim in plural.
If you do what?
If you're careful to light the nerot of Hanukka. In the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, it also mentions Havlan lo banim tamidei chachamim, but it mentions Hazahid bener, and ner over there is talking about nerot Shabbat and nerot Hanukka. But here he mentions it for Hanukka. Va'afilu ani she'en lo ma yochal ela min hasadaka. Even a poor man has nothing; he only eats from what he collects charity. Mocher kisuto. He sells his jacket or whatever garment he has. Onotno be'avot kedei lahasig demeh shemen or nerot sha'ava. You have to get either oil or wax candles. Lahadlakat ner Hanukka kedei shi'ur ner echad lekol laila, for the minimum of one candle every night. So we tell the guy, you don't have to sell your stuff today. What do? You go to Chabad. Chabad will give you a box of candles and you'll be good and all set. We'll find out soon how long the candles need to light for. So some of those Chabad candles that I remember we used to get, I actually measured once and they did not cover the sufficient time. So we're going to get to it now in a few minutes. Okay? Let's continue. Okay. וכן חייב להזכיר עצמו לפועל שכיר כדי שיוכל לקח שמן להדלקה כדי שיעור נר אחד לכל לילה. So he tells you, וכן חייב להזכיר עצמו לפועל שכיר כדי שיוכל לקח שמן להדלקה כדי שיעור נר אחד לכל לילה, כן העלה העלייה רבה בדלו כמה שכתוב בעולת שבת. לכן מצויים כל גבאי צדקה להשגיח על העניים, לתת להם שמן להדלקת נרות חנוכה, אלא שאינם מצויים לתת להם אלא כדי נר אחד בכל לילה, כפי עיקר הדין של המצווה. ילקוט יוסף מועדים עמוד קוף סדידלת. So he says here, make sure if you have workers, Jewish workers, or you know that he's only getting paid a weekly salary, or he's limited money, or you know that you're a gabbai in a shul, and you kind of know who's on top. You're on your game. If you're a gabbai in a shul, it's more than just giving out adiyot. You need to be someone that's well knowledgeable about the people in the shul, who needs what, who's looking for what. A good gabbai, he understands the kahal. He doesn't have to wait for a guy in the kahal to tell him that he needs something. He's already listening. He's got his ear to the ground to know who might need something, whose wife might need help, and he's already setting people up. That's a good gabbai. And he says, be careful. If there's a guy who needs something, make sure for at least every night he's got one candle. That's the halacha. Halacha is just one minimum. You don't have to do all of them, but make sure the guy's got at least 8 candles so he can go home and light properly. Bet. Almana, a widow, anizonet min nechsei hayetomim, who gets her money from the orphans, children. Tzrichim lesapek la shemen lahadakat ner Hanukka. You have to make sure that she has oil for lighting the nerot Hanukka. Shetuchal levarech letzet yedei chovata. So she, the woman, can make a bracha on her own and be yotzeh the mitzvah. Kevan she'af hanashim chayavot ner Hanukka, because also ladies are chayavot ner Hanukka. Shegam hem hayu be'oto hanes. They were also part of the mitzvah, so that she has to take part of it. It's good to give her enough oil. If her husband was someone that used to light every night oil, olive oil, 8, then give her the same. Don't leave her on the side with one wax candle every night. Take care of her and do it the right way. Okay. אף על פי שמצוות צדקה נדחית מפני נר חנוכה, שהרי אין לך צדקה גדולה יותר מלתת לעני כסות ומלבוש, ומכל מקום קיימה שמוכר כסות לצורך נר חנוכה. מכל מקום אין מצוות נר חנוכה דוחה מצוות דאורייתא. ומה שנר דוחה לקידוש היום, היינו מפני שיוצאים מידי חובה מן התורה על הפת או בתפילה חזון עובדיה על חנוכה, פרק ב' הערה ה'. So he says here that even though the mitzvah of tzedakah nidchet mitpener Hanukka, even though you're pushing it off, that we don't have no tzedakah that's bigger than giving a poor person let's say, clothing or food. Even though that's the case here, the tzedakah of giving them the nerot of Hanukka and the oil is a big mitzvah, and you should focus on it. Mitzvah deoraita. Okay, let's go to Daled. Kama nerot sadich lahadlik beHanukka. How many candles? Amru Hazal in Shabbat Chaf Aleph Amud Bet. Mitzvat Hanukka ner ish ubeto. So the Hachamim said in Shabbat Kaf Aleph Amud Bet that the mitzvah of Hanukka is one candle ish ubeto, a man and his household, one candle. Okay. Mehadrin ner lekol echad ve'echad. Some do a candle for each and every person. Umehadrin min hamehadrin bet Hillel omrim yom rishon madlik echad mikam ve'elach mosif ve'holech. So Bet Hillel would say every night you light one candle, and then second night you add an additional candle. Let's see what he's getting this. V'haino kimi karadin dai bener echad lekol bayit ubayit miYisrael. If you just lit one candle in every household, you're sufficient. Ben shebenei habayit merubim. If you have a lot of people in your house, ben shehem muatim. If you have a few, if a guy has 18 kids, a guy has one kid, same thing, one candle. Ulam hamehadrim b'mitzvah zo. Those that want to make the mitzvah nice, but laila rishon madlikin ner echad. The first night they light one candle. Mikan ve'elach mosif ner echad bechol laila. Ad shebelayla ha'acharon yiyu shmona nerot. We have 9 because we have the shamosh. The shamash you put in there. So he says, minimum is 1. If you want to do 1 each day and add, fine. He says, but don't do more than that. Do 1 Hanukkiah.
Ashkenaz does more.
Yeah. So v'chein pasak maran b'shulchan aruch siman tafresh ayin aleph. That's here seif bet. V'chein pashat haminhag b'chol tefutzot Sfarad. So the Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch, is 1 Hanukkiah. Let's see what he has. Some notes here. Yalkut Yosef Moadim Amud Kuf Sadihei. ומה שכתב התז שזהו חידוש שהספרדים נהגו בזה כדעת התוספות והאשכנזים נהגו באין דברי הרמב"ם להדליק חנוכיה לכל אחד ואחד. So he says here, it's kind of interesting that according to the Rambam, he says here להדליק חנוכיה לכל אחד ואחד. The Rambam held that every person in the house has his own Hanukkiah. Kvar he'ir alav, looks here, Ahmed Moshe, sheminhag asfaradim kadumhu b'nizkar b'divrei harambam. So it seems here that from the Harambam, the Ashkenazim, they learned that they do 1 Hanukkiah per person. We do it only one per household. Yeah.
What if you're in a household of an Ashkenazi? So
Yeah.
And you're Sephardi, so what do you do?
Well, if
you go say from their menorah, or you light your
own? It's a good question. We'll have to check the details of it. But usually, I know that Ashkenazim, if they don't want to be Yotzei you, then you're not Yotzei with his Hanukkiah. I'll give you an example. Just the other day, there was a Kiddush in the Sukkah. Ashkenaz guy. He came in, he made the Kiddush, and the other guy that was there was like, okay, you had me in mind. He's like, no. He's like, I absolutely did not have you in mind. You have to make your own Kiddush. I never saw that in my entire life, where someone got up and made Kiddush for a whole table, and he specifically told everyone, I had no kavanah for anyone here, so you're all on your own.
It's good he said that.
He said that. He was honest. He was honest. So it could be possible that Ashkenaz guy, he's used to lighting it on his own. I light my own. Like you want to come and get it on me, like light on your own. So I don't know. You have to ask him. But if he's telling you you're not covered, you're not.
It's a fake brachot to do that?
It's not safek. It's not safek. He's telling you you're not covered.
I'm saying before. If you could do it before. I'm not talking about your.
Oh no, it's not safek. Safek is if you're not sure. Here, you're sure. The guy's telling you I'm covering you, so you're good. He's telling you I'm not covering you. You're not good. So you have that option. I'm just saying that if the guy's used to lighting it on his own, and you're going to come in and say, hey, cover me along with it, he may not want to, or may tell you, light it on your own. But what he was bringing here, the Yalkut Yosef, which was interesting, is that Masha Katav Hataz Shejeu Chidush, the Taz Torah Zahav, that the Sfaradim, they took the da'at of the Tosafot of lighting 1 Hanukkiah per household, while the Ashkenazim understood the Harambam. The Ashkenazim took the Sfaradi opinion of having a separate Hanukkiah. That's how it. I don't know. That's how it ended up. And And he says here, Sheminhag Sfaradim kadumhu v'nizkar b'devrei Harambam. So Harambam mentions it, but it's just interesting that the Ashkenazim took the halacha of the Sfaradi rabbi, the Rambam, and we take the halacha like Tosafot and like the other opinions of lighting one. Let's go to Hay. Misha in lo shemen the chol shemanat yemei. Someone doesn't have oil for all the 8 days. Ela rak kedei hadlakat layla achat, except for one night. Keshu shiur hatzi sha'ah. That's a minimum of 30 minutes. When I measured the candles that we got from Chabad at the time, it was not 30 minutes. I remember it was like 20 something minutes.
How many years ago?
It was 20 years ago, probably. At least I was living at my parents' house, so it was about 20 years ago. שהוא שיעור חצי שעה, אין לו לחלק את השמן שבידו לשמונה חלקים, כדי שידליק מעט בכל לילה לפרנס הנס, אלא ידליק כשיעור בלילה הראשון, ואם לא יישאר בלילות אחרים, אין בכך כלום, תאנוס רחמנא פטרה. He says that if you have enough to light for 30 minutes, and that's all you have, then light the first night for 30 minutes and do it right the first night. Don't divide it up so you have less light the first night, but then you're covered for all 8 nights. So you'll end up having the oil for all 8 nights that will light for 3 or 4 minutes instead of one night for 30 minutes. He says no, do it for 30.
Did they do that back in the day? They used it all in the first shot and the last.
Well, that was the miracle. We actually spoke this morning. It's on. You can check it up on YouTube. I think there was like 8 or 10 reasons, and we broke down all the miracles of Hanukka, what it was, how they filled it, if it was that it lasted, or they only put in 8. I talked about it this morning. You can check it up. ולפוקה ממה שכתב בספר נטע שורק בחידושי סוגיה דף עין ג' שאף על פי תירוץ הבית יוסף שהנס היה כל חטא ימי חנוכה. Even though the בית יוסף said that the miracle was all 8 days, שחילקו את השמן שבפח לחטא חלקים, that when they poured it out of the pach, they divided it into 8s so that they get covered for a full 8 days. And that means every single night there was a miracle. Why was there a miracle every night if they did that? Because instead of filling up the glasses or the containers that were in the menorah, they only filled it up in 8 instead of a full, and it lasted the whole night. So that was the hidush. יש ללמוד למי שאין לו שמן לכל חטא ימי חנוכה אלא רק ללילה אחד יחלקוהו לחטא חלקים לכל לילה. ואף דקאי מלן שצריך שייתן שמן כשיעור חצי שעה, זהו רק מצווה מן המובחר ולא לעיכובה. אוקיי, ואין ראיה מהבית יוסף דשני פח השמן שבבית המקדש שהיו הניסים רגילים. אוקיי, וit says here, ועיין במאור ישראל. Okay, and he brings you a few things. Okay, he says not to do it. So he says if you only have enough for one night, the Yalkut Yosef is telling you, do it for one night for 30 minutes and then you're good. Vav. מי שיש לו שמן לכל שמנת ימי חנוכה כמנהג המנהדרין מן המנהדרין, he has enough for all 8 days. בצמצום לחברו אין שמן כלל. מוטב שידליק כל לילה נר אחד בלבד, שייתן שמן לחברו לזכותו לברך להדליק נר חנוכה, שהרי מן הדין אין צריך אלא נר אחד. So he says that if you have just enough, you have enough for all 8 days to light everything. But yeah, and your friend only has one, it's good for you to share with your friend the oil, and you light only one on every day. Zayin. מי שיש לו שמן בלילה השני או השלישי, כשיעור החיוב וההידוד בלבד. He has enough to cover the second or third day for the hiyuv and for the hidud בלבד. וחושש פן למחר לא יהיה לו שמן להדליק נר חנוכה. But he's worried tomorrow he may not find or have oil. מוטב שידליק רק נר אחד שהוא מן הדין ואת היתר ישאיר למחר. So if the guy is limited on his oil, he's not sure where he will get it tomorrow, he's in a place where he doesn't have access to things, then you should light one candle. That's a 30-minute span. חיי אדם כלל, it says here, קנ"ד סימן כ"ה, שאם אין לו בליל שישי אלא בית נרות, on the third day he only has 2 candles, לא ידליק 2, you shouldn't light 2, שאינו לא כבית שמאי ולא כבית הלל, וכך אתה בקרי הדת, okay, בהכתב סופר ובשבט הסופר, and others. So he's saying that if a person's on the third day and he only has 2, let's say, candles, 2 wax candles, let's say, he says don't light 2 on the third day, just light 1, because you won't end up doing the Beit Shammai or Beit Hillel opinions. Okay. ובליל שני אם יש לו בית נרות ידליק את שניהם ולא ידליק את נר השמש. Oh, it says here if he's limited on the second day, just light the 2 candles, don't light the shamash. Okay, ח' אם יש לו שמן שיעור של בית נרות בלבד, he only has enough oil for 2 candles, והוא עומד בליל שישי, and he's on the 3rd day. ולמחר יהיה לו שמן, but tomorrow he'll have שמן, ידליק בלילה ג' נר אחד כשיעור. On the 3rd night, light only 1 candle, ויחלוק השמן הנשאר לשני הנרות האחרים, and he'll divide the rest of the oil for the other 2, ורק אם אין לו אלא נר שעבה שאי אפשר לחלקו לשניים, ידליק נר אחד בלבד. Only if you have a wax candle, then just light 1. Then he writes here in the bracket, שאף על פי שאין בהם שיעור חצי שעה, even though the other 2 won't have a time span of 30 minutes on it, הרי ללשנה כמה לה בעינן שיעורה. וכתבו, here, it says there, בהסמ"ג, הלכות חנוכה בשם רי, שנהגו העם כלשנה כמה שאין צריך שום שיעור. אוקיי, בנות העידוד, אין צריך להקפיד כל כך על השיעור. אוקיי, ת' מי שאין לו שמן הרבה בלילה השמיני, he's on the 8th day, he doesn't have a lot of oil, כדי שיספיק לכל שמונת הנרות עם ההידוד. In order to do all the 8 with the proper הידוד, ייתן בנר השמיני כשיעור הדלקת חצי שעה, put in the 8th one a full 30 minutes, the main one, שהוא מן הדין, that's the main one, והנותר יחלק לכל שאר הנרות, and the remaining one do for all of the other. כן, אז לא יחלק השמן באופן שייתן בכולם שווה בשווה. Don't make them all equal, שאז לא יצא ידי חובת הדלקה כלל, because there won't be any of them that will be a 30-minute span, וגם לא יוכל לברך להדליק נר חנוכה, and you won't be able to make the bracha, שהואיל ואין באף אחד מהם כשיעור הנדרש לפי הדין. Okay? יוד, מי שטעה והדליק בלילה הראשון בית נרות, the first night he made a mistake, he lit 2, או שהדליק בלילה שני ג' נרות, on the second night he lit 3, יצא ידי חובתו, he's still fully covered, ואין צריך לחזור להדליק לפי הראוי לאותו לילה, you don't have to go back and relight if he miscounted, ואם חוזר להדליק כפי מניין היום, הוא מברך הבעלה ברכה לבטלה אחר שיצא כבר ידי חובה. If he does light again and he makes another bracha, it's a bracha לבטלה. Okay. And he writes over here, and in the shoot, העלף לך שלמה, in אורח חיים סימן ש"פ, שהתוספת על העיקר לא מזיק. Adding to the mitzvah is not a problem, שהעיקר שלא לפחות, but not to take away. בפרט במנורות המיוחדות לחנוכה. אוקיי, יוד א', אם בליל שני או בשאר הלילות הדליק רק נר אחד, if on the second night or on the other ones he just did one night, מפני שלא היה לו יותר שמן, he didn't have oil, ושוב נזדמן לו עוד שמן שהוא יוכל להספיק לשיעור של המהדרין ידליק ההידוד בלי ברכה. But then later on you ended up getting oil, then it's okay. You can go and fill them up, but don't make another bracha. י"ב, מי שמילא קערה שמן, he filled a bowl, a plate with oil, והקיף אותה פתילות, and he put in there a bunch of pitilot, just a regular plate, and he puts in their oil, and he puts a bunch of pitilot. Kind of like, you see those old ladies in Israel, where they light for all the hachamim. You go visit some of these, the wives of some of these tzaddikim, they have this big bowl of oil, and then just all pitilot, and they light candles for all the tzaddikim. Im kafa alea keli kodem ההדלקה, עולה לכמה בני אדם, כגון מהמדרים שכל אחד מבני הבית מדליק נר אחד. אבל אם לא כפה עליה כלי, עשה כמדורה. He's saying here that if they're all separate, and he puts on top of it some type of a keli before you light it, then it's okay. אבל אם לא כפה עליה כלי, asa'ak kimdura, then it's going to become like one big flame. And then it's not even good for one person. He has to go back and light with a bracha. If he lit and then put on top of it a keli, then take it off and then relight it again. 2 centimeters, but if you separated all of them into different areas, והפיתלות בינוניות, שאין השלהבת של האחת נוגעת בחברתה. יש אומרים שיצאו ידי חובת נר חנוכה, אף על פי שלא כפה עליה כלי. Okay, so he's saying here, if when you're putting all the pitilot in the bowl, they're going to end up making one flame all together, and that's a problem. But if you made spaces between all of them and they're not touching each other, and it'll light obviously for 30 minutes, then you seemingly will be yotzeh. as long as it's not making a madura, which is like a torch flame, like a big flame. Yud Gimel, Hanukiyot, Mikesef, O Minachoshet. Okay, if they're made out of silver or out of copper, Agulot, Shiotzim Mehem, Kanim, Sebivotehem, Beigul. And they come out in a round shape. Al kol ner kaneh ner echad, on each one of the branches is one nail. Uben kol kaneh merchak ke'ove etzba. And then there's a distance of a finger between them. Keshirot hadik behem nerot Hanukka. It's good. It's good. So he's saying it's round, but I guess it's not straight. Even though the Rama said not to light it when it's round, the Hanukkiya modeh she'im yesh revach benehem yachol ladik. If there's a space between the branches, then it's okay. You have to put the nerot Hanukka inside of a keli of the Hanukkiya. Not like they take a wax candle, they heat the bottom of the wax and then just put it onto a table or on the floor, or on a small stone. That's not a keli, a vessel. Okay, so he says here, if you don't have a keli, it's me'akev the mitzvah. Tetvav, ulam hamhalech bederech bechona balayla. He's going on his way, on a path, he's traveling, and he's stopping at night. Ve'en sham bayit v'lo ohel. He has no house, no tent. Hayav ladlik ner Hanukka. He has to light the ner Hanukka. Im yesh lo hatichot sha'ava, pieces of wax. Yitle otam be'etz gavoa. Hang them on a tree, or al hashulchan, or on a table, or safsal, or a couch. Ve'yadlikam lekayim mitzvat hadlakat ner Hanukka v'laverech alehim. He says, try to do whatever you can in order to light it. But obviously, you got to be careful for flammability. I don't know, he tells you here to do it on a tree, or on a table, or on a couch. You have to obviously do it with the right precautions. Even though you really need a keli, and it's me'akev ve'im ken lo yo'il klum behadlakat chatichot sha'ava al gaber shulchan o safsal bli keli ulam b'shut chacham tzvi siman memhei mochiach l'shapir dami af belo keli ayen sham rach lechat techila yesh lachush lehamatzlichim keli. Okay, he says obviously you should do it with a keli, but if you don't have it for whatever reason, then it's okay. Tetzayin keli hanikach me'akum. Okay, so if you took a Hanukkiya, I don't know, your neighbor is in Akum that loves collecting Hanukkiyot. He's got, I don't know, maybe your neighbor's with the Vatican, and the Pope wants to give you that golden menorah. You don't have to dip it in the mikveh because you're not eating from it. Okay, Yud Zayin. Yesh mi shekatam she'im hishtamshu bekos shel zchuchit במי רגליים לבדיקה רפואית אפילו רק פעם אחת אין להדליק בו נר חנוכה משום הקריבו נא לפחדך אבל לעשותו שמש לנרות חנוכה שפיט דמי. Okay, so if you had a glass cup that you at one point put in it urine for a checking of a health check of some sort or a lab test, even one time, don't use that ever for Hanukka, the Hanukkiya. If you have to, you can use it for shamash, which is not one of the candles that's me'akev. Yudchet, mitzvat hanachat nerot Hanukka, hi betoch asarat tefachim. The mitzvah of where you put and light the candles, it's within 10 tefachim, which is like 80 centimeters, mikarka ha'adira. From the floor of the home or the apartment, it's got to be 10 tefachim high, so 80 centimeters. That's not high. Some tables can be more than 80 centimeters. That's found in Shabbat, Kaf Aleph Amud Bet. He brings down the Rashba and the Ran, and also the Rosh and the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch, and also Maran Bet Yosef. That everyone should be careful on that. If you do it higher than Asarat Tefachim, you're Yotzeh. So it's got to be higher than Gimel Tefachim, and at less than 10. So higher than 3, less than 10. It could be any height, but that would be the right one. So 3 tefachim to 10. ואם השלהבת של נר השעבה שהודלק למצווה חנוכה הוא למעלה משלושה טפחים, אף על פי שהגוף הנר הוא למטה מג' טפחים, שפיל דמיין שהעיקר הוא השלהבת. So the way you determine it is from the flame. So you can have 3 tefachim from the floor. You have the floor here. You have 3 tefachim high. And then you light the candle. Let's say the candle was under the 3 tefachim. As long as the flame was above the 3 tefachim, you're good. So it's 3 to 10 tefachim. That would be the right place to put it. And להדליק נר חנוכה המונח למעלה מ-20 אמה מקרקע הדירה. Don't make it more than 20 amot above the floor of the dira. And kol amma is 48 centimeters, so it's 9.6 meters. Don't make it higher than 9.6 meters. Ve'im avad v'hidlik lemala me'esrim amma. And if you did do it higher than 20 amma, lo yatsa af b'di'avad, you are not yotze v'tzarich l'chabot et ha'chanukiya ol hanicha b'makom ha'kasher v'yachzor v'yadlikena ach lo yavarech shenit. But don't make another bracha. הכל תלוי בשלהבת של הנרות ואין משגיחים באורך הנרות בזה. And it's all determined by the flame of the candles, not by the length of the candles. So you have to determine where is the flame going to be. So when you're lighting it, just make sure, I don't know, maybe if you are at 19 amot high and you're lighting it, just make sure the flame is not above 20, then you're good. We'll end it here and we'll continue next time. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.